Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today?
Good.
How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. He'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. They'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand the truth.
Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand the truth.
That's it. Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome back to First Contact Radio. Tuesday, the 17th of June, right here. Okay, so Sun sign in Gemini for a couple more days. The 22nd. The end of this week is the last where it's going to make the transition. Actually, the 21st we could see at night. 23rd when you look at the timing according to the international timing. It takes place on the 22nd. Okay, so anyway, that's coming up. So today we have a Sun in Gemini, communication. We have a moon sign which is making a transition. It is currently in Aquarius, the last phases of Aquarius, and then it's going into Pisces later this afternoon. Actually early this afternoon, 1:26 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Okay, so what we have here is we have a air sign and we have a water sign. Air, words, actions, communication. Pisces, emotions. Pisces, the fish that swim opposite directions. So with Pisces, we need to really learn to be able to not be at the whim of every emotional thing that happens to us. Alright, we'll come back to that in a moment here. So what we've got here for today, okay, we had a square earlier today between Aquarius and Venus. Lessons being learned and dealt with as far as the beauty and imagination, creativity that we express. Mercury entered Gemini, which makes it in its home planet, so communications and everything are all should be moving forward to some degree. We still have the Mercury retrograde, but we have Mercury within its home sign there. Sun and the Moon are trining each other, so Pisces, Aquarius and Gemini, two air signs in a good trine with each other. So you have one which is looking at ways of communicating and one which is ways of futuristic ideals and ideas, that Aquarian ideal that's out there. Okay, so nice, good, positive vibes coming from those today. Just before the full moon or the moon change this afternoon, we also have the moon sign is going to be trine with Mercury, and so that's Aquarius is going to be trine with Mercury. So Aquarius being an air sign, actually we're in between signs, so there's that communication issue when Mercury is trying to communicate, but you've got two different signs we're transitioning before. You know, it's what is being communicated. Is it the thoughts? Is it the emotions? Maybe it's a combination of both that is learned from this experience. Whatever it is, Mercury, the communicator, is going to be in a good, nice, positive trine of energy with this moon, which is making its transition. Okay? We just want to pay attention. And we always just look at what these symbols are and just keywords for them. I'm going to show you a little bit more about this now here. Our numerology for today is the number 3. So let me show you how we arrived at that. Okay, we've got the 6 for the month, 17 for the day, 2014 for the year, which comes out to 21, 6 plus 8 plus 7, 21, 2 plus 1 equals 3. So our numerology for today is the 3, which is the Empress. Okay, the Empress. The Empress is the pregnant Earth Mother. Hebrew letter Daleth means door. This is a card that Venus is represented by this card. It is all about giving birth to the imagination or the creativity that comes out of our imagination. See the green of abundance all around there. Okay, so that's what our numerology is here. Let's take a look over at a few different things now. We're going to look at 3 different cards here. We're going to Sun sign Gemini, Moon sign Pisces, and our numerology, the Empress. So let's take our first look over here. Okay, so what we have is we have our Gemini. Zayin means sword. It's an air sign. We have the Pisces down here, which is the moon. Qaf, back of the head, is the meaning of the Hebrew letter Qaf. And then, of course, we have our Empress. The Leth is the Hebrew letter meaning door. Venus is the sign. Now, we're going a little bit further here. This just kind of gives us some key words to understand the Hebrew letters. But we want to go beyond that. We want to explore now a little bit deeper what each one of these are. So I'm going to go to the Empress first, which represents our numerology for today. It says fundamentally this key represents creative imagination. All of its symbolism refers basically to reproduction, multiplication, and growth. In direct contrast to the virginal high priestess, the Empress is a pregnant matron. She is Venus, goddess of love, beauty, growth, and fruitfulness. She is the great mother principle in nature. She represents the activity of the subconscious mind. The stream and the waterfall symbolize the stream of consciousness. It flows from the robe of the high priestess, as do all streams pictured in the tarot. The water falling into the pool is again a representation of the positive and negative potencies of the life force. These potencies are symbolized by the scepter of the Empress. The heart and the dove, pearls, wheat, and trees are all Venetian symbols. The necklace of 7 pearls symbolize the astrological planets, and 12 stars about the head represent the 12 signs of the zodiac. Okay, and then all of the correspondence that we were just looking at there on the previous chart. Okay, so now we're going to go to Lovers. This was our sun sign. And as soon as it switches over, there we go. This was our sun sign for today. The Lovers. Discrimination is the key note of the 6th day. Its symbolism graphically portrays sharp differences. The letter Zayin means sword, which is an instrument of cleavage. To this key is also attributed the disposing intelligence, and disposing means literally to pose apart or to separate. In addition to the zodiacal sign, Gemini is attributed to this key. Gemini means the twins, and its sign is approximately 2 ones next to each other. This gives us the clue to the occult doctrine that all opposites are really different aspects of the one thing, and they are complementary. The title Lovers brings this out even more graphically. The sun is the symbol of enlightenment and the one force which is differentiated into pairs of opposites. The angel represents superconsciousness, and the clouds indicate that this is partly hidden from us at our early stage of consciousness, unfoldment. The mountain symbolizes attainment. The man and the woman are Adam and Eve, or the prototypes of specialization of the life forces, male and female. The tree of 12 flames behind the man represents the signs of the zodiac, and behind the woman the 5 senses. The latter carries the idea of discrimination between opposites because it bears the fruit of knowledge of good and evil. In addition, the 5 senses are instruments to enable us to discriminate between one thing and another. The serpent represents the occult force known as Kundalini. Okay, and then some more associations here. And one last one, this will be Pisces, which is the moon. And here we have corporeal intelligence is attributed to key 18. It means body consciousness and is indicative that illumination is dependent upon bodily states. Until the bodily organs are evolved in the extent that higher forms of consciousness can manifest through them, it is impossible to experience such conscious states. Sleep is also attributed to this key, and during sleep that our aspirations and efforts are built into organic structure. Every thought we think and every action has some modifying influence on bodily structure. It is said that the way of attainment is the way of return. This is symbolized by the moon, which reflects the rays of the sun back to the sun. The crawfish represents instinctive energy. The wolf and the dog represent the same energy but in higher form as a result of the evolutionary modification. Also, the wolf is a symbol of nature and the dog of art because he is a product of human adaptation. The path passes between these two extremes because the way of balance goes neither too far towards artificiality nor allows everything to be influenced by ungoverned, unnatural impulses. The path leads through the well-veiled field to the unknown heights beyond the two towers, representing the present human attainment. The ground is undulatory, representing alternative periods of rest and action. The statement of unfoldment is organization. Okay, so from here, let's just jump over here. Now that we have a little bit more insight, got the Empress here, the door. The door is the path between the two classrooms of wisdom and understanding what we learn and how we understand what we've learned. It opens the path to the middle here as this door, the left, is opened. Gemini here goes from our understanding to the heart. And Pisces is right down here, going from our emotions down to the kingdom, from victory to the world, the physical world where we're at. Okay, and one last thing here to look at before we move on from this. This is called the Emerald Tablet of Hermes. It's associated with all of, as we've been talking about all of this esoteric science, this is very much a part of it. What I'm showing you over to Builders of the Atom with the Tree of Life and these ways to study the cards and look at the information on them is a very good place, a very good source. And so this Emerald Tablet of Hermes goes back a long, long time. It says, true, without falsehood, certain and most true, that which is above is as that which is below, and that which is below is as that which is above, for the performance of the miracles of the one thing. And as all things are from the one, by mediation of the one, so all things have their birth from this one thing by adaptation. The sun is its father, the moon its mother, and the wind carries it in its belly. Its nurse is the earth. This is the father of all perfection or consummation of the whole world. Its power is integrating if it be turned into earth. Thou shalt separate the earth from the fire, the subtle from the gross, suavely and with great ingenuity. It ascends from earth to heaven and descends again to earth and receives the power of the superiors and of the inferiors. So thou hast the glory of the whole world. Therefore let all obscurity flee before thee. This is the strong force of all forces, overcoming every subtle and penetrating every solid thing. So the world was created. Hence were all wonderful adaptations, of which this is the manner. Therefore I am called Hermes Trismegistus, having the three parts of philosophy of the whole world. What I have to tell you is completed concerning the operation of the sun. Okay. Now we go over to our moon sign. We're waning. Means we're going down to the new moon. We got some time to go yet before we're there. We're only 74% of the way. Tonight, Vega is the brightest star high in the east, barely to its lower left. After dark is one of the best known multiple stars in the sky. Fourth magnitude Epsilon Lyra. The double, it forms one corner of a roughly equilateral triangle with Vega and Zeta Lyra. The triangle is less than 2 degrees on the side, hardly the width of your thumb at the arm's length. Binoculars could easily resolve Epsilon. Okay, and Zeta Lyrae, the triangle third star, is also a double star for binoculars. Much together, it's easily split with the telescope. Okay, so we're looking at today. We're going to see Vega high in the sky. The Mayan Oracle, we're at a 9-tone day. It's called the tone of integrity, solar tone of intention. Kin for today is a dog, which is all about love, loyalty, the heart, and World Bridger, the ideas of life and death, that bridge between the two of them. So today the phrase is, I pulse in order to love, realizing loyalty. I seal the process of heart with the solar tone of intention. I am guided by the power of death. Space weather, 352.8 kilometers per second is the solar wind at this moment. Few smaller coronal holes moving around there. Nothing of significance that we're being informed about. M-class layer possibilities dropped again. It's now going down from 55 to 50. X-class is dropping back down as well. And geomagnetic storm activity we could see over the day, it's dropping. So everything is lessening from the solar flares that we had last week. And on the Jewish calendar, today, 19 Sivan, and the daily thought is, our mission in life is not to shake up the world, but to fasten its pegs, not to climb to the heavens and holler and roar, but to walk softly on the ground, not to create a storm, but rather a dwelling, an earthly home for the presence of God. If a storm is needed, so it shall be. As for us, we will continue on our path, the path of Torah, solidly planted in the earth, a path of pleasantness and peace, bringing order to chaos step by step until all the boundlessness of the infinite light is arranged firmly in our world. So there you have it. That kind of gets us going for today with all of the energies around. I hope this information is helpful. I know that if you go and use the Builders of the Atom Boda, their websites, as a source for the Tree of Life, and if you look at it to do the study of the tarot cards there, you'll find it very helpful. Again, if you want to study even deeper than what is there, just contact the Builders of the Atom. You can sign up for their correspondence courses, and you'll receive 2 times a month a lesson to study. And it'll be a couple pages per lesson, as opposed to just a paragraph or 2 that you see there. And what you do is you just read through the course of the week or 2 until the next lesson arrives. You just read that lesson once a day. And then as you do so, you become familiar with it. If you don't go that route, if you're just going to study what's over there at the website, the Builders of the Atom, same principle. Pick one a day and just study one. You could start at the beginning with the Fool and move all the way through, and just study one a day, and look in that direction, and you'll start to find that the learning process will change. Because the whole idea is, once you look at the cards, once you understand the symbology and the color and numerology and everything that's embedded in each card, as you look at them, it will truly unlock what you have inside your memory banks. And you'll look at these symbols and you'll be able to understand and to interpret them in a different way. I can't explain to you all the ins and outs of how it works. It just does. That's what I know. It just works. Okay, UFO news is up next. Let's get to it.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk. Thank you very much. First story takes us above Solingen, Germany. This was the 14th, so Saturday. There we have our orb in the sky, a 5-minute video. Okay, let's see. There we go. Oh, that's the moon. And if we zip through this, it's 5 minutes. There we go. There's our object in question. I guess the other thing wasn't the moon. I guess that was it. Very interesting what he's seeing there. Alright, check it out. Enlarge the video. See what you think. Next we have over Western Australia. This was on the 16th, just the other day. A new video of 2 unidentified flying objects flying across the sky above Linwood in Western Australia. This was taken Monday, 6:54 p.m. Okay, the video is 3 minutes in length. There we go. There's a nice capture right there. Alright, interesting. So there you go. Alright, next. Here's a series of crop circles that took place. This one, this was up in Serbia. This was the 8th of June. There you go. Looks like one of these labyrinth types that we've seen, but it doesn't have any sort of openings that one would travel back and forth. Each one is enclosed, isn't it? Let's look at it again here. Okay, so what we have is big inner world. Got 1, 2, 3, 4 number of circles here. I don't know what that means. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, the next one here, this was in France. This was just on the 12th. Okay, it looks a little different as we could see. Alright, that's the best that it is right at the moment. That one's pretty intricate. And this one here is in the Netherlands. It looks more like just a circle. It's only 20 seconds, this video. Okay, just a big circle. Something else over here. And then the last one, this was in the UK. There's an interesting looking one. Okay. So what have we got here? Well, we definitely have something underneath a pentagon type symbol with a star over it. Circle in the middle. I don't know what this means. It's very interesting, okay? Check it out, see what you think. And one last piece here. It's a group of workers from 1969 break silence about UFO. Independence, Missouri. He waited 45 years to tell his UFO story, and now there are more coming forward with the same story. In the summer of 1969, at the age of 22, Raymond Griggs worked at the Lake City Army ammunition plant, where he and several co-workers spotted a UFO hovering over the complex. Griggs and the others in the group were visited by two shadowy characters the next day. One was dressed in gray, the other all in black. They didn't say who they were, and they said, "You know, you have signed a security clearance, an agreement that you do not see anything," says Margie Kay of the UFO Research Group, Missouri MUFON. Since Griggs came forward, more have stepped up with UFO accounts of the sightings around Lake City, with some being very recent. Alright, so again, UFOs, and of course what goes with UFOs is cover-ups and secrecies, and that's what makes it fun for investigators to unravel what is really going on. Can you imagine how advanced we would be as a society if we didn't have all of these lies? If we were open to truly understanding the communication that goes on between us and our space brothers and sisters? Could you imagine if instead of the fear that has been spread that we're going to be invaded by these different races that are out there, if we embraced them and we allowed and accepted their information? Ship comes down, many ships come down. Just think what we could learn. Many, many things. But instead we play this silly game as if we didn't see anything. When are Americans, when are people around the world going to put their foot down and say enough is enough? I'm not going to take any more lies. I'm not going to accept the cover-ups anymore. When is that going to occur? I hope it happens soon, because there's a lot of good people that it seems to be suffering out in the world. They're suffering because they are being confused. Their minds tell them what's going on around them are lies and corruption. They could see it, but they're having a disconnect because the ones that they trust, their government agencies, are the ones lying to them. So there's a lot of confusion about what's going on. Much confusion, and that's part of the process, to confuse, divide and conquer. Doesn't matter that you understand what's going on, as long as those who are in power understand. That way they can control you. And the more that they can control you, the better it is for them. So all you have to do is make sure you're not one of those who can be controlled easily. Take charge of your mind so nobody is, using your mental capabilities against you. Just take charge of who you are. That's it. It's that simple. Nothing more complicated than that. All right, let's jump away momentarily, and I will be back. We'll continue on.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls with peace.
Okay. Whoa, 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 whoa. Here's an article. It says, Astroecology researcher growing plans to prepare for space farming. Space farming. A Virginia chemistry professor is growing plants on extraterrestrial materials in an already moderately successful attempt to develop and move microorganisms into space into a new discipline labeled astroecology. Michael Motter, Ph.D., a research professor of chemistry in the Virginia's Commonwealth University College of Humanities and Science, has been growing asparagus on meteorite materials as part of his belief that microbes and plants can develop in extraterrestrial environments. Montner, suggests that asteroids and meteorites contain levels of phosphate, nitrates, and water to directly grow certain plants on other planets. We seek a higher meaning to our existence, and these insights allow us to define one. Belonging to organic gene protein life implies that a human purpose is to safeguard and propagate life. Monter said in a press release, the purpose is best achieved in space. Astroecology shows us that with space resources, life can endure for trillions of future eons and expand greatly in the galaxy in quantity and diversity and culturally. His findings are groundbreaking as they could ultimately facilitate space plantation in protected environment. Okay, it's a good story there. What's going on in space? Just one step closer that we're getting ready to be more and more involved in space if we're thinking about planting food and crops and stuff. Here's one goes along. The story the other day was about all the water that was discovered. Now there may be an ancient Earth inside Earth, says Harvard scientists. A team of Harvard scientists believe remnants of an ancient Earth dating to the time another planet collided with ours to produce the moon may still be lodged deep within the Earth's mantle. If you thought it was a trip to see the Earth from space, then wait until you get a load of this. A team of scientists from Harvard University believe they have found evidence that an ancient Earth exists inside the Earth. The team believes that a previously unexplained isotopic ratio from deep within the Earth might be a signal from material from before the Earth collided with another planet-sized body, which led to the creation of the Moon. This might be an echo of an ancient Earth that existed 4.5 billion years ago prior to the proposed collision. The current favorite theory says that the Moon was formed 4.5 billion years ago when the Earth collided with a mass the size of Mars dubbed Theia. The theory states that the heat generated by collision would have melted the whole planet before some of the debris spun off to create the Moon. But now the team at Harvard, led by Associate Professor Sujoy Mukhopadhyay, believe that they found evidence to support that only part of the Earth melted and that the ancient part still exists within the Earth's mantle. According to the professor, energy released by the impact between the Earth and Theia would have been huge, certainly enough to melt the whole planet, but we believe that the impact energy was not evenly distributed throughout the ancient Earth. This means that a major part of the impacted hemisphere would probably be completely vaporized, but the opposite hemisphere would have been partially shielded and would have not undergone complete melting. The team analyzed the ratios of noble gas isotopes from deep within the Earth's mantle and compared the results to isotope ratios closer to the surface. They found that 3He to 22Ne ratio from the shallow mantle is significantly higher than equivalent deep ratio and mantle. He says this implies that the last giant impact did not completely mix the mantle and there was not a whole mantle magma ocean. Okay, more to the article here. But pretty fascinating. But you know, it's really cool to see that scientists are coming up with this information. However, I do remember, and I'm sure that you do as well, that Eric von Daniken and Zechariah Sitchin and others have talked about the ancient astronaut theory for quite some time. If you read through Zechariah's books, the Earth Chronicles, you'll find that he talks exactly about this scenario, that there were two planets that collided. One of those planets ended up becoming the Moon. After the collision occurred, the rest of the planet that disintegrated became part of the asteroid belt, and that is how we got Earth and our Moon. These are all very, very old information that came about through Zechariah studying the Sumerian tablets. So we're just catching up with what has happened, and it'd be nice if we were able to just to believe the information that was presented rather than always having to go through all of this nonsense of disbelief. Commander Byrd also talked about an Earth inside the Earth, that there was an atmosphere in there, that there was sky and water and 5 different races of beings that potentially lived down there inside our Earth. So it's not a new theory, it's just new to some of the disbelievers who have never considered that possibility before. But for those who have been researching, you probably run across it many times. I know I've talked about it. All right. So there you go. Moving on to the Urantis book. Urantis book. Good study, right? Good information here. Tons of stuff to learn. So today, what I'm going to talk about, and what I'm going to read to you about, is from paper 63, The First Human Family. Okay. The First Human Family. Urantis was registered as an inhabited world when the first 2 human beings, the twins, were 11 years old, and before they had become the parents of the firstborn of the second generation of actual human beings. And the archangel message from Solingen on this occasion of formal planetary recognition closed with these words: Man-mind has appeared on 606 of Satania, and these planets of the new race shall be called Andon and Fonta. These parents of the new race, Andon and Fonta. And all archangels pray that these creatures may speedily be endowed with the personal indwelling of the gift of the Spirit of the Universal Father. Andon is the Nebudan name which signifies the first father-like creature to exhibit perfect human hunger. Fonta signifies the first sun-like creature to exhibit human perfection hunger. Andon and Fonta never knew these names until they had been bestowed upon them at the time of fusion with their thought adjusters. Throughout their mortal sojourn on Urantia, they called each other Santa An and Santa N. Santa An meaning loved by mother, Santa N signifying loved by father. They gave themselves these names, and the meanings are significant of their mutual regard and affection. In many respects, Andon and Fonta were the most remarkable pair of human beings that ever lived on the face of the earth. This wonderful pair, the actual parents of all mankind, were in every way superior to many of the immediate descendants, and they were radically different from all of their ancestors, both immediate and remote. The parents of the first human couple were apparently little different from the average of their tribe, though they were among its more intelligent members, that group which first learned to throw stones and to use clubs in fighting. They also made use of sharp spicules of stone, flint, and bone. While living with his parents, Andon had fastened a sharp piece of flint on the end of a club, using animal tendons for this purpose, and on no less than a dozen occasions he made good use of such a weapon in saving both his own life and that of his equally adventurous and inquisitive sister, who unfailingly accompanied him on all of his tours of exploration. The decision of Andon and Fonta to flee from the primates' tribes implied a quality of mind far above the baser intelligences which characterize so many of the later descendants who stooped to mate with their retarded cousins of the main simian tribes, but their vague feeling of being something more than mere animals was due to possession of personality, and was augmented by the indwelling presence of the thought adjusters. After Andon and Fonta had decided to flee northward, they succumbed in their fears for a time, especially the fear of displeasing their father and immediate family. They envisaged being set upon by hostile relatives, and thus recognized the possibility of meeting death at the hands of their already jealous tribesmen. As youngsters, the twins had spent most of their time in each other's company, and for this reason had never been overly popular with their animal cousins of the primates' tribe, nor had they improved their standing in the tribe by building a separate and a very superior tree home. And it was in this new home among the treetops one night that, after they had been awakened by a violent storm, and as they held each other in fearful and fond embrace, that they finally and fully made up their minds to flee from the tribal habitat and the home treetops. They had already prepared a crude treetop retreat, some half-day's journey to the north. This was their secret and safe hiding place for the first day away from the home forests. Notwithstanding that the twins shared the primates' deathly fear of being on the ground at night time, they sailed forth shortly before nightfall on their northern trek. While it required unusual courage for them to undertake this night journey, even with the full moon they correctly concluded that they were less likely to be missed and pursued by their tribesmen or relatives, and they safely made their previously prepared rendezvous shortly after midnight. On their northward journey they discovered an exposed flint deposit, and finding many stones suitably shaped for various uses, gathered up a supply for the future. In attempting to chip these flints so they would be better adapted for certain purposes, Andon discovered their sparking quality, and conceived the idea of building fire. But the notion did not take firm hold of him at the time, as the climate was still sublurious, and there was little need for fire. But the autumn sun was getting lower in the sky, and as they journeyed northward, the nights grew cooler and cooler. Already they had been forced to make use of animal skins for warmth. Before they had been away from their home one moon, Andon signified to his mate that he thought that he could make fire with the flint. They tried for 2 months to utilize the flint spark for kindling a fire, but only met with failure. Each day this couple would strike the flints and endeavor to ignite the wood. Finally, one evening, about the time of the setting of the sun, the secret of the technique was unraveled, when it occurred to Fonta to climb a nearby tree to secure an abandoned bird's nest. The nest was dry and highly inflammable, and consequently flared up into a full blaze the moment the spark fell upon it. They were so surprised and startled by their success that they almost lost the fire, but they saved it by the addition of suitable fuel, and then began the search for firewood by the parents of all mankind. This was one of the most joyous moments in their short but eventual lives. All night long they sat up watching the fire burn, vaguely realizing that they had made a discovery which would make it possible for them to defy climate and thus forever to be independent of their animal relatives on the southern lands. After 3 days' rest and enjoyment of the fire, they journeyed on. The primate ancestors of Andon had often replenished fire which had been kindled by lightning, but never before had the creatures of the earth possessed a method of starting fire at will. But it was a long time before the twins learned that dry moss and other materials would kindle fire just as well as birds' nests. It was almost 2 years from the night of the twins' departure from the home before their first child was born. They named him Sontad, and Sontad was the first creature to be born on Urantia who was wrapped in protective coverings at the time of birth. The human race had begun, and with this new evolution there appeared the instinct properly to care for the increasingly enfeebled infants, which would characterize the progressive development of mind and intellectual order as contrasted with the more purely animal type. Andon and Fonta had 19 children in all, and they lived to enjoy the association of almost half a hundred grandchildren and half a dozen great-grandchildren. The family was domiciled in 4 adjoining rock shelters or semi-caves, 3 of which were interconnected by hallways which had been excavated in the soft limestone with flint tools, devised by Andon's children. These early Andonites evinced a very marked clannish spirit. They hunted in groups and never strayed far from their home site. They seemed to realize that they were an isolated and unique group of living beings and should therefore avoid becoming separated. This feeling of intimate kinship was undoubtedly due to their enhanced mind ministry of the adjusted spirits. Andon and Fonta labored incessantly for the nurture and the uplift of the clan. They lived till the age of 42, and both were killed at the time of an earthquake by the falling of an overhanging rock. 5 of their children and 11 grandchildren perished with them, and almost a score of their descendants suffered serious injuries. Upon the death of his parents, Sontad, despite its serious injured foot, immediately assumed the leadership of the clan and was ably assisted by his wife, his eldest sister. The first task was to roll up stones to effectively entomb the dead parents, brothers, sisters, and children. Undue significance should not attach to the act of burial. The ideas of survival after death were very vague and indefinite, being largely derived from their fantastic and variegated dream life. The family of Andon and Fonta held together until the 20th generation, when combined food competition and social friction brought upon the beginnings of dispersion. Primitive man, the Andonites, had black eyes and a swarthy complexion, something of a cross between yellow and red. Melanin is a coloring substance which is found in the skin of all human beings. It is the original Andonic skin pigment. In general, appearances and skin color of these early Andonites more nearly resembled the present-day Eskimo than any other type of living human beings. They were the first creatures to use skins of animals as a protection against the cold. They had little more hair on their body than present-day humans. The tribal life and the animal ancestors of these early men had foreshadowed the beginnings of numerous social conventions, and with the expanding emotions and augmented brain powers of these beings, there was an immediate development in social organization and a new vision of clan labor. They were exceedingly imitative, and their play instinct was only slightly developed, and the sense of humor was almost entirely absent. Primitive man smiled occasionally, but he never indulged in hearty laughter. Humor was the legacy of the later Adamic races. These early humans were not so sensitive to pain, nor so reactive to unpleasant situations, as were many of the later evolving mortals. Childbirth was not painful or distressed ordeal to Fonta and her immediate progeny. There was a wonderful tribe. The males would fight heroically for the safety of their mates and their offspring. The females were affectionately devoted to their children, but their patriotism was wholly limited to the immediate clan. They were very loyal to their tribes. They would die without question in defense of their children, but they were not able to grasp the idea of trying to make the world a better place for their grandchildren. Altruism was yet unborn in the human heart, notwithstanding that all the emotions essential to the birth of religion were already present in these Urantia aborigines. These men possessed a touching affection for their comrades and certainly had a real, although crude idea of friendship. It was a common sight in later times during the constantly recurring battles with the inferior tribes to see one of these primitive men valiantly fighting with one hand while he struggled on trying to protect and save an injured fellow warrior. Many of the most noble and highly human traits of subsequent evolutionary development were touchingly foreshadowed in these primitive peoples. The original Andonic clan maintained an unbroken line of leadership until the 27th generation, when no male offspring appearing among the Sodad's direct descendants, two rival would-be rulers of the clan fell to fighting for supremacy. Before the extreme dispersion of the Andonic clans, a well-developed language had evolved from their early efforts to intercommunicate. This language continued to grow, and almost daily additions were made to it because of the new inventions and adaptations to environment which were developed by these active, restless, and curious people. And this language became the word of Urantia, the tongue of the early Earth human family, until the later appearance of the colored races. As time passed, Andonic clans grew in number, and the contrast of the expanding families developed friction and misunderstandings. Only two things came to occupy the minds of these people: hunting to obtain food and fighting to avenge themselves against some real or supposed injustice or insult at the hands of neighboring tribes. Family feuds increased, tribal wars broke out, and serious losses were sustained among the very best elements of the more able and advanced groups. Some of these losses were irreparable. Some of the most valuable strains of ability and intelligence were forever lost to the world. This early race and its primitive civilization were threatened with extinction by the incessant warfare on the clans. It is impossible to induce such primitive beings long to live together in peace. Man is the descendant of fighting animals, and when closely associated, uncultured people irritate and offend each other. The life carriers know this tendency among evolutionary creatures, and accordingly make provisions for this eventual separation of developing human beings into at least 3, and more often 6 distinct and separate races. So you have the first family, Andon and Fonta. This one of our viewers sent me a note to talk about this. I thought it was very fascinating, and so there you are, Andon and Fonta. All right. We'll continue on more with the Book of Urantia tomorrow. In the meantime, let's jump over to another story. This is a story over at In5D. This is from Michelle Walling. And this is how to recognize and assist walk-in souls. Are there certain signs that define whether someone has a walk-in soul? What would you do if you recognized these signs? The energy that was measured at the harmonic convergence of 1987 proved that an acceptable percentage of humanity was ready to continue on the path of evolution, raising their consciousness. These souls that have not evolved will eventually decide to leave the planet. They will do so either by leaving the body to be recycled into the planet or by allowing another soul to walk into their body while they are making the transition away from the current Earth experience. As Earth moves astrologically into the age of Aquarius, it also moves through a complete cycle of the outbreath of Brahma, or cycle of life. The return to source is beginning now as the in-breath or expansion of light occurs after being constricted and seemingly cut off from source. As the planet also expands with light, it creates an opportunity for soul growth that is extraordinary. Many souls stood in line for chance at this incarnation, but there were only about 8 billion bodies available. There are some souls that came here for growth, some whole souls that came here to make the soul growth happen through dissonant polarity, and some souls that had already experienced the Earth Soul Growth School and came back to assist others. As this cycle of life ends, Earth triggers a house cleaning in order to create the space for light. Some people finish what they came here to do in this lifetime and are ready to exit, along with those who did not evolve. There are a lot of people making this transition through leaving their physical bodies to return to the elements. However, because of demand for a physical body at this time, there has been an increase in walk-in souls taking over the physical body as another soul decides to leave. A great shift in consciousness is expected to happen in this lifetime, and there is not enough time for most of the experts that need to be here to incarnate the traditional way. Souls that have not evolved on a high enough level to make the transition on Earth are also making agreements on a soul level with those that have come here on a rapid evolution or special mission, and they decide to trade places. All walk-in experiences are prearranged by souls on the etheric level. The walk-ins described here are from benevolent soul growth. Other benevolent experiences involve energy hitchhikers or overlays, and are usually not part of the current walk-in experience phenomena. A walk-in inherits all of the prior soul agreements and contracts that have not been fulfilled or executed prior to the time of walking in. Most of the time, a walk-in does not have the knowledge that an exchange has taken place until they begin to become more spiritually aware and explore this possibility. There are three types of walk-in experiences. A temporary walk-in. If your soul is indeed in another planet or world, a walk-in soul can come from a short-term period of time to hold the fort down while the original soul takes care of business or receives healing. A soul exchange is another type. This is the most difficult way to integrate. In order to allow a soul to completely exchange places, the experience often happens with an accident coupled with memory loss. With this method, there is an excuse for the new soul does not recognize their family or spouse. However, there is still a very small amount of soul particle left from the original soul on an as-needed basis for the walk-in to rely upon this ease of transition into everyday tasks here on Earth, like eating, talking, etc. And finally, soul braiding. This is a full walk-in experience, is very complex and confusing for the walk-in and family alike. Most souls plan to gradually introduce their energies into a body, while the old soul gradually leaves. The old soul is considered the caretaker that helps integrate the walk-in soul with daily life. It says, how do you recognize a walk-in? In temporary situations, it will be apparent that the person is not themselves. For example, a woman had to take a lot of her essence with her into her home planet in order to make decisions to speak on a special council that was taking place. A male aspect on this very high level came into her body here on Earth so she could leave. This exchange occurred in an airplane while she and her husband were going to a week-long vacation in a tropical setting. The male walk-in was fascinated with the woman's body and decided to take full advantage of exploration. Whereas the old soul would never have worn a two-piece bathing suit, the walk-in brought two of them and probably could have purchased a bigger size overall. This was very uncharacteristic of the old soul, and she was quite embarrassed to see the vacation picture afterward. The new soul also imbibed very much the alcohol, whereas the old soul did not drink much because of the alcohol intolerance. And let me jump to the end of the article here. You can see it's a good article. It says, the best support you can give a walk-in is to match their unconditional love. Pets are a great way to make a walk-in feel more comfortable and at home. Unless a walk-in is aware that they are a walk-in, it may not be appropriate to say, I think you are a walk-in. This is no more effective than telling an asleep person you need to wake up. However, with articles such as this one and various books on the market, walk-ins will find the material they need to become more aware of what has happened. As the consciousness continues to rapidly rise on the planet, more people are realizing that the walk-in experience entails and are coming together to form walk-in group reunions. Just when you think you have gotten used to the walk-in soul braided with your companion, another switch may throw a kink in the rope. As conditions change on Earth, another type of walk-in may be needed, either temporarily or as a new soul braid. As long as there is an original agreement in place for you to work with the original soul or the first walk-in, you will probably be able to work with the next walk-in as well. Working with and assisting walk-ins is one of the best tests of intergalactic readiness and advancement towards being a galactic ambassador on one's soul evolution path. Do you think you've had a walk-in soul, or do you know someone who has? And then send them a note. So I know someone who definitely is a walk-in. We've had many, many long experiences about the process, and I know because I've seen pictures and I've seen, video and of this person before and after, and definitely two different personalities that are there. The earlier and the one that after the walk-in. And certainly the walk-in is very a lot of spiritual information that the other before the walk-in experience didn't have. So it's very fascinating indeed. That brings us to our message for today, which comes to us from Hilarion. And we'll be there momentarily right after this. There we go. Okay.
June 15th through the 22nd, 2014.
Beloved ones, many there are who are feeling uplifted and inspired in one moment and in another, find themselves feeling energetically depleted, tired, sleepy, irritable or downright angry. This can happen even though you had the best of intentions to remain balanced and in equilibrium. During these times, it is best to immediately forgive yourselves and replace the disempowering feelings and thoughts with ones that uplift, inspire and remind you that you are in the midst of the greatest metamorphosis that humanity, the earth, and all her kingdoms have ever experienced, and that you have chosen to be a part of it. These are the times when adaptability and greater flexibility are required, and most important of all, a greater kindness to self. Observe your inner dialogues and begin to change the harsh judgments that you carry towards yourselves. You are all much kinder to others than you are to yourselves. Become your own best friend, one who is always supportive, nurturing and unconditionally loving. This is what you give to others, why not to yourselves? An individual is not being selfish by honoring themselves first, for without a healthy love and acceptance of self, you cannot truly serve others. When you are happy and feeling positive about your own shining qualities, it is much easier to recognize the same qualities within others. When events in your lives seem to become overwhelming and hard to deal with in an enlightened manner, that is the very time to stop and take a time out to do something that brings a smile to your face and laughter within your soul. Do not take yourselves or the situation so seriously, for you know, if you stop to take a moment, that you are an individual who is always doing the very best that you can in every instance. Avoid self-recriminations and self-flagellations, for these habits keep you on a disempowering path. This is something only you can do for yourself, and it is an important consideration to keep in mind. Spending quality moments connecting to the true essence of your being helps to re-energize and recharge your entire human auric field in a positive and beneficial way. It is important to pave the way for new habits and new ways of interrelating with others that constantly focus on all your good qualities. This is your true essence and the truth of who you are. Give yourselves a chance to shine your beautiful light in those situations that used to steal your divine power from you by the habit of berating yourselves for perceived infractions that in all likelihood are not as bad as you seem to think. Love yourselves, your human self and your divine self, for you are a wonderful integration of both. You came to this planet for this very reason, and as you do this, it enables and empowers others to accept and integrate all aspects of their selves also. If you are finding yourselves feeling stuck and unable to move forward, consider beginning a new project, taking a class of instruction in something you have always wanted to learn, or even rearranging the furniture in several rooms in your home. Sometimes this instills the feeling of renewed energy, and you will find your creative force flowing with inspiration and manifestation. Have faith and trust in spirit and follow through on the guidance and promptings you receive, for you are being guided to help you move into the perfect place on the path you have chosen. Have faith in your own abilities, the choices you make, in the guidance of your heart. Have faith in yourself. Any energy you use for this purpose is energy well implemented, for you are worth it. We remind you that we of the luminous world are ever with you and always by your side. You are loved and cared for. And it is your love, your caring, that this world so deeply needs. Your love holds healing potential, not only for yourselves but a great many people in your sphere of influence. Claim your power, stand tall, claim the magnificent life you have come here to live. You are a powerful, magnificent, and incredible soul. It is time to let that truth come into your sphere of influence. Until next week. I am Hilarion.
Alright, nice message from Hilarion, reminding us of the growth that we are all going through at this point in time. This brings us to our meditation for today. Just go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And exhale. Take another deep breath. Exhale again. Another deep breath. And exhale. And just find yourself becoming relaxed. And just see yourself on a journey, walking along a path. feeling the sun shine down upon you, feel the wind blowing against you. And as you're walking along this path, feeling the sun, you feel your body completely energized by the light from the sun. And as we know that light means information, is information, we know that the sun is filling us with information. And this sunlight, this information shines deep into us, and as it does, it activates the DNA within our very being. So imagine this DNA within you being changed by the sun, by the information from the sun. And imagine yourself changing and evolving with the planet, with this new information encoded into you. And as you embrace this change, you find that you begin to glow brighter and brighter. And the more you glow, the more that you grow. And you find that the true essence of who you are is expressed. And the more you grow, the more you see that the illusion of who you are fades away to the reality of who you truly are. And as you look at these versions of yourself, you realize the tremendous potential and opportunity we have to make a difference upon this planet and with each other, as we just recognize the opportunities available to us through this growth. So just imagine yourself strong and wise in this insight, in this knowledge, in this new information from the sun. And as you go through the world today, just imagine yourself observing the changes taking place within you. Changes as you are affected by the sun, the wind, the water, the elements of life. And as you observe these changes, you find that you know more about yourself than you did prior. So let your subconscious mind continue to walk down the path, exploring the changes you're going through, just observing them. And let's just send love and light out into the world as we are going through this process of observation. And bring our conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That is our show for today. Thank you very much for being here. I'm going to close with this affirmation. Happiness is a choice. I base my happiness on my own accomplishments and the blessings I have been given. Just a little of something to send us on our way. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. Have yourself an awesome day. Keep loving each other. I'll be back tomorrow. Peace. I'm out of here.